As if they don't have too much on their plates. The Kings of Combat Sports Podcast, John and Wade. They talk about the things they did that day. They'll analyze the work of Vince and Triple H. Review a SmackDown. 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 Review a SmackDown.
Welcome to Review a SmackDown. Mm-hmm. It's John Pollock and Wai Ting.
Yes, it is still me.
What's going on?
Not a whole lot, man. Tout. That's what's going on.
Tout.
Yeah.
I feel there's a significant portion of the audience that doesn't even know what Tout is. That was a 5-year ago thing.
Was it?
And it was very brief. They had their literally 15 seconds of fame.
Well, I don't know if... was that what the limit was?
I feel it was 15.
I don't... Was it actually 5 years? Because I actually went to check out.
Well, it existed beyond that, but it was 2012, I want to say, they started promoting it, and
push.
They had to have dropped it within a year.
So I decided to actually go and check out Tout.
Yes.
Just to see if they would actually
We had a Tout account.
Did we?
We did.
Oh, I don't remember that.
We tried this stupid idea where we would do, to promote Review-A-Way, we'd do like a review within the time, whatever the limit was.
15-second review? That's actually
15, 30. I don't know what the time limit was.
Maybe we could condense this review into a 15-second thing. Anyway, so yeah, I actually went to check out the WWE's Tout, and I don't think there's a video there from past 2014.
Yeah. I mean, the joke is that it's not on Tout.
I know.
It's just the title. But yeah, this was... I mean, the WWE had like put money into this thing. Yeah. So there was a big incentive. And then, I mean, it was like every shiny toy the WWE gets where they are all in and then they are all out of something.
I guess if they, if you have a financially vested in the success of this thing, it's worth a shot. But
I don't fault the strategy. I mean, you take your risks. Like, what if Tout had exploded into something and they were on the ground floor? That's incredible. There's 10 million applications out there.
I don't give a shit about Tout.
Oh.
Let's talk about SmackDown.
You definitely gave enough to check on this WWE Tout account.
I guess I don't give a shit anymore.
I'm also going to share this information with that on Monday while I was doing the show with you, I felt this weird, I felt like I was in an airplane for the entire show. You know, when your ears get plugged in the air, and I had a doctor's appointment the next day and I brought it up. And they looked at my ear and they're like, yeah, your ear is completely blocked on your left side.
Oh.
So I have to go back next week and have my ear flushed out.
Yeah.
But I'm still feeling this right now where this has just been how I felt now for a number of days, but it really hit me on Monday's show.
Oh, that's awful.
I felt like I was 30,000 feet in the air with you. I thought maybe I was just excited.
So can you hear me right now? Like, you can hear this? Do I need to shout?
Huh? I can hear you fine. It's weird.
That's terrible. But when
I want to bring everyone into so don't take for granted that you've got an earbud in your ear and you just are hearing this fine.
Will you Instagram your flushing out of
Maybe with one dog ear.
When they do it, it's disgusting.
Have you had it done?
Oh yeah.
I've never had it done.
You get a huge chunk of earwax like that big, and if you've never done it, your thing is probably going to be this large.
Oh,
stuck
wicked.
in your head right
That's
now.
grammable.
Yeah. So.
Do you want to come and shoot it?
Nah.
Okay.
I don't want to see that.
It's only downstairs, too. Okay. Enough about my ear.
Yeah.
Lend us yours, folks, for our review here of SmackDown from Tuesday night in Richmond, Virginia, coming out of Battleground, which I will say, outside of a video package for the Punjabi prison match, I cannot recall a TV coming out of a pay-per-view where the pay-per-view was so we are moving on from in quick fashion.
True. Yeah.
There were very little repercussions of this show. Even the U.S. title change, we were just, boom, we're going right on to our title rematches. Everything was in the rear view. Battleground, I think it's one of those shows that even within the company, they would not be arguing with the vocal criticism of the show, that it was largely uneventful and very below expectation.
I would say, in terms of scheduling, it was probably designed to just kind of wrap everything up prior to the build towards SummerSlam anyway.
Yeah. Kevin Owens starts the show, and he took the title back from that thief AJ Styles, and the crowd is chanting for Styles, and says he's reinstating the Kevin Owens U.S. title open challenge, but it starts next week. And he would never defend this title in front of the Hicks from Richmond, Virginia. Hicks is not a a WWE insult we hear all that often. But I guess Richmond, they decided to bust this one out. Styles came out, said, hey, I'm defending all the Hicks tonight. He wants his rematch, and Owens repeats, I'm not defending the title tonight. And then Chris Jericho's music hits, and he comes out and got a very big reaction. He reminds everyone the last time he was on SmackDown, he left here on a stretcher. It was a pretty big injury angle to take him out. And he has rehabbed, he's done some CrossFit, and he's been drinking beer. And he's now back.
Okay, I should start drinking more beer.
I guess so.
Yeah.
He wants his rematch tonight for the title. Styles says, hey, I'm next in line. And we got this long buildup of Jericho eventually putting AJ on the list for trying to jump the line in front of him. And Owens is, meanwhile, just quietly trying to leave the ring and go to the back. When Shane comes out and says to Owens that both men deserve title opportunities, he's going to make a triple threat match, but it's not happening at WrestleMania next year. It's just too far away. I was like, damn. He said it's not even going to happen at SummerSlam. It's happening tonight in Richmond, Virginia, as Shane gets maximum crowd reaction. So they evened out the Hick line with delivering this triple threat for them. Owens freaks out. And we've got a pretty big main event on 2 hours build.
It could have been at WrestleMania.
This could have been in New Orleans next year.
Yeah.
They didn't hold off.
Chris Jericho's return here, a surprise to me.
Do you think it was a surprise to him? Do you feel this was something planned out? Because it didn't feel like it.
I would assume that he was probably going to return for SummerSlam. But I'll say at the end of all this, it didn't necessarily feel all that impactful. You know what I mean? He just shows up, he's back in the mix, and it's just like he never left. I feel like a return, especially coming out of the way he disappeared with that attack from Kevin Owens, I expected Jericho to come back with a bit more anger, you know, the anger of somebody who was taken out on a stretcher. But here, he came in, all smiles, cool new hairstyle, but just friendly, fun-loving Chris Jericho with all his catchphrases. The guy worked in like pretty much every catchphrase he had in like 3 minutes here.
Yeah, and Jericho did state in this promo, I'm back. He's not booked for any house shows this weekend, and he doesn't have any Fozzy commitments until the fall. So there's nothing that I'm aware of that would prevent him from being back for just the immediate future. Yep. And his fall tour is like 3 weeks in the UK. So it's not something where he's got this big block coming up or anything. However, it just felt very strange because they had done this big injury angle and it just felt like this stopgap to bring him back. You brushed off the injury angle instantly. There was no it was all played for comedy here with Jericho's return. It negated anything you did back in May.
It's CrossFit though, man.
He did do CrossFit, so maybe he did have some realization that this injury was not as bad.
For me, it was more so like just kind of the anger between the heat between him and Owens. It felt really kind of ignored in this.
So you watched the match on Sunday, correct?
Yes.
So there's been a lot of discussion about this match and whether or not there was a change during the match, whether the finish was messed up. I watched that finish.
Because leading up to it, the odds for people
that was the big one. AJ was a massive betting favorite. And when you're looking at the odds the day of, there is significant money that comes in on the guys that are winning. And that was a big curveball that Owens left with the title. But you watch that finish.
But the other story was that a lot of money came in like half an hour before the match. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, so a lot of money came in for Owens, like very close to the match. Is that the story?
I was not aware of that. I was just aware that AJ was the big favorite.
Okay, maybe you're right.
Anyway, you watch that finish. Like, it was a weird finish. It's not a finish that you would be doing unless there was a controversy coming out of it with both shoulders down, and that wasn't played up at all.
Yeah.
It was a very flat finish. But nor was AJ, like if the idea was he was supposed to get his shoulder up.
I don't think that was it.
I don't
think somebody like AJ Styles would mess something like that up. You know what I mean?
And
I don't believe it was.
The ref had a very calm 3 count.
No, I think Kevin Owens was very much supposed to win. And if you look at the build leading up to it, it makes very little sense why he would.
And why this tonight.
And why this happened tonight. So there are definitely some shenanigans going on, whether or not influenced by some of the betting odds that were released for professional wrestling. It's dangerous. You shouldn't bet on pro wrestling. I think it's just a messy situation waiting to happen. But anyway, this was weird.
Yeah, I think everyone's just trying to dissect this of like what exactly happened, because there's a story there somewhere.
Yes,
It was a very strange set of circumstances, and tonight's outcome only fueled that. Shinsuke Nakamura and Baron Corbin. The rematch no one was asking for took place.
Who's the favorite for this?
I don't know. I don't think odds really trickle to television. It's a pay-per-view thing, because you don't know the matches typically on TV ahead of time. So the match began. Nakamura is delivering lots of knees, a running knee and a knee drop off the apron. Corbin clotheslined him to the floor. They went through the break. Nakamura dropped him down with a push kick after taking some slaps. There's a Kinshasa off the second turnbuckle. Lots more fire for Nakamura than usual here. Corbin then sidestepped a Kinshasa and hit a chokeslam into a backbreaker. He's driving knees into the body of Nakamura and then does the Shinsuke Nakamura pose with the hands.
Yeah, he does.
Maybe the high point of Baron Corbin's personality I've ever seen, and a photo that needs to be saved. This was awesome. Then he hit the deep six for a 2 count. The end of days gets countered. Nakamura hits a spinning back elbow and then kicks at the knees of Corbin, hits a Kinshasa to the back of the head, and then from the front, winning the match. This match was in a different country code than the match on Sunday. Much shorter and way better.
Yeah, I'm sure they were probably answering a lot of the criticism from Sunday.
If anyone had questions if Shinsuke Nakamura does vanity searches, this might have answered it.
Could be, yeah. I thought it was a decent TV match. Certainly not... I wouldn't say this was pay-per-view worthy. This was a TV match, you know. There wasn't too much back and forth, no false finishes. It looked to be designed to be pretty straightforward. Nakamura goes over. I wonder why they didn't just do this at the pay-per-view. Why did they need the disputed finish at the pay-per-view?
It was... You can watch the TV. It feels to me, watching both Raw and SmackDown, that the priority is television at the moment. And look at the matches they're putting on television, which we'll get into. The three-way next week, the singles match they've announced for next week with Nakamura. And it just feels everything is geared towards TV at the moment. And they're announcing stuff a week in advance, which I think is helpful. That's something that is good. But you watch Battleground, you're right. This was the payoff. Yeah. This was the big match.
That was the build-up to this.
It was the build-up to television. Yeah. And not even announcing that the rematch was happening. You had no clue until the afternoon, maybe, that this was happening. Dasha interviewed Naomi and says that Natalya is tough as nails. And Natalya walks in and says Naomi has tarnished everything that a WWE champion should stand for and has turned the title into a kid's toy and doesn't respect people like the Hart family. She disgusts Natalya, and she's going to restore honor back to that title. Naomi says that Natalya is stuck in the dirty dungeon of the past. This is the now, and she respects everything and just added some of herself to the title, and Natalya will be blinded by the glow at SummerSlam.
The dirty dungeon of the past.
Now, we've made this joke before, but now there's some more interest to this, because she said that Natalya is going to be blinded by the glow. And then later, Natalya posted a photo online where she's all done up in makeup, her hair is done, and she used the hashtag Debbie.
Okay.
So I don't know what this means. Like, are we doing a glow-inspired photo shoot? Are we doing something bigger?
I don't know how. I don't know why they would. I don't know how they would.
Well, maybe this is...
Could Debbie mean anything else?
I don't know.
Like the snack? Like little Debbie?
Yeah, maybe she's gonna have a new pessimistic gimmick.
Oh, yes. Yes, they could do all that. Yes, they could do all those things. You know what?
But if there's a glow tie-in for SummerSlam, maybe this Naomi will have guests in the audience or something. Maybe this women's match will have... Maybe Debbie will be in someone's corner.
Well, that would be quite the get.
Though Debbie's kind of the baby face. She shouldn't be with Natalya, right?
Debbie's Allison Brie, right?
No. Debbie was...
Who's Debbie?
Debbie is the blonde.
Oh, the blonde. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Debbie Gilpin.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't catch that reference on her Instagram.
Okay, well...
But
it's pretty... It's not very subtle.
Natalya and Naomi, you know, I feel like they are... Obviously, Naomi is the champion, but still, they are not... I think they're second to Becky and Charlotte as far as, you know, being the most popular members of the division. And so for the two of them to be in the title program at SummerSlam is maybe a little unexpected, because you expect SummerSlam to kind of feature either Charlotte or Becky. They're
Charlie.
Charlotte and Becky, they're two big stars. But the fact that these two are in there suggests that maybe this will kind of take a slight backseat to whatever Becky and Charlotte are involved in. However, I mean, that's not to say I wouldn't be interested in this. I think they kind of hit on something like a theme here of you know, the future versus the past. And I think both of these women could represent those two things pretty well. And you know, it seems like a theme that I hope they expand on and could be interesting.
Charlie took on Lana and Tamina next. Lana wanted to be tagged in as Tamina had the advantage, so Lana comes in, and JBL explains that Lana is a neophyte, but sometimes she shows flashes of brilliance, which you really have to be paying attention to. But sometimes she just does not belong in there. And then, like on cue, the crowd started chanting, "You can't wrestle," at her.
So, I mean, the announcers and I guess the company are honest about the fact that she's not very good. She's not a good wrestler.
I guess that's where we're kind of going with this as well. Lana was also very upset after this show on Twitter. Charlotte got the tag, was chopping Tamina. This doesn't get enough criticism. Her strut is awful, especially as a babyface. Charlotte. She does this thing where her arms go limp as she does it, and kind of like her tongue comes out. She looks like she's impersonating Ric Flair at 3 a.m. at the bar instead of a strut. It's unnecessary, especially as a babyface, I feel.
Yeah, she's not her dad. You know, I mean, how many...
It just looks goofy.
How many spots does she actually pull off of her dad's?
Well, what she does is like the figure four, but evolved.
Yeah, exactly,
right?
exactly.
She does the flip in the corner.
Yeah. But like, there's if you didn't tell me
chops,
this,
she should, you know, but
she
they're
does
not
a chop like anybody else does. If you told me that if you didn't tell me that she was Ric Flair's daughter, I would have no idea. And that's not to say that she should impersonate Ric Flair. I think she should just be her own person, because she like her body type's different from Flair's. You know, like her style is pretty different from Ric Flair's. Well, I guess the knee drops.
I'm picturing Ric Flair trying a figure eight.
Wow. Yeah, I don't see that happening. Her knee drop's pretty nice though.
There was a running boot to Lana as Tamina is knocked to the floor, and Charlotte wins with the boot to Lana, 427. And Tamina is very frustrated after. She's yelling at Lana, who's looking embarrassed, and that ended this segment.
So they continue to tease whatever's behind this relationship, but
this is a relationship that's existed for 2 weeks.
They're not revealing it. Instead, they're just, let's move on to the breakup, you know? So we don't know why they're together. I don't know if anybody cares. This received no reaction live. I don't know if anyone cares about this Tamina-Lana thing.
There's a recap of the Punjabi prison match, and then Jinder Mahal came out. He said he crushed the legacy of Randy Orton.
No Sings, by the way.
No Sings and no Orton on this show.
And no Great Khali?
No Great Khali, which I was very surprised by. I mean, that was, if anything, that was the big reveal to end the show, and he was hardly mentioned.
It might have been one-off.
Perhaps.
Sorry to disappoint everybody.
Imagine the ideas that we may not get to see fleshed out, though. I don't know. Unless that was their only way out of a match, that's a hell of a length to go to. Because that Khali thing was planned for a bit.
To fly this man, you mean?
Huh?
To fly this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says that Orton underestimated Mahal and demands to know who his opponent will be at SummerSlam. Starts to speak in Punjabi and is interrupted by John Cena. And Mahal cut Cena's promo for him with what he expects Cena is going to criticize him over. But Cena says he's an awful mind reader, and he wasn't going to say any of that. In fact, he respects that Jinder is in the best shape of his life and that the WWE title means so much to him that he'll do whatever necessary to keep it. and he congratulates Mahal. And then Cena introduces himself and says at SummerSlam, you're going to face Super Cena, and I'm going to become the 17-time champion. And he goes to leave when Daniel Bryan comes out and states Cena does not make the matches around here, and even Cena has to earn opportunities on SmackDown. And he announces that Cena looked very good at Battleground, and he's going to face someone who looked very good tonight, Shinsuke Nakamura, next week in Cleveland. And the winner faces Jinder Mahal at SummerSlam.
Big match.
Way too big match for television.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. This is one you could definitely, I mean, this is Mania-worthy, you know? This is legitimately Mania-worthy, Cena versus Nakamura, at least to us, to this audience. But could it be that Cena maybe isn't staying that long? Maybe they have different plans for Cena at, obviously, SummerSlam, and then obviously at Mania.
Well, I feel based on this that, I mean, Cena's going to work SummerSlam.
Yep.
I don't feel he's going to be put in the title match. I think that they will go with Nakamura.
Really?
I feel they will, especially in Brooklyn, because I think you want to keep that chase for the title alive, and that should be something really big. And SummerSlam's big. I don't know if now is the time for that.
So you're saying they should hold off on Jinder Cena, is what you're saying?
I do.
Oh, okay.
If you get to there, like Jinder is probably going to have a pretty lengthy run. But look at it this way: the fact that I feel Jinder and Nakamura, that's a weird mix.
Yeah.
But for SummerSlam, it can work. It's not like the show is just contingent on that. And I also feel that the Cena Styles tease has been there.
Yeah, but so was the Nakamura Styles tease.
Okay, but the Styles has since said that they did that on their own at Money in the Bank.
No, they did a segment last week.
Oh, you're right.
Backstage.
They did do that as well.
Yeah.
They've teased a lot. Anyway, I think Cena Nakamura, like there's part of me that hopes this is not a big match next week, but it's either a letdown because it's not, or you do a big 20-minute match, and I think that does take away that could be a major, major match. Like if that happened at SummerSlam, that's the match of the night. That's the most anticipated match of SummerSlam.
Guaranteed. And I don't know. I mean, next week we'll see what happens, but they can always just do a screwy finish to make you feel really unsatisfied. And that
what I don't like is that you're teasing this that everyone wants to see, but it's building to something less. No matter who gets the title match with Jinder, it's a lesser match, and no one is going to be anticipating Jinder against either of these guys.
That depends who you ask. You know, if you're asking a fan who wants to watch for work rate, then yes, that is a disappointment. But if it's a typical fan who just kind of watches for these characters, Nakamura still doesn't mean a whole lot to your average, casual viewer, for instance. So I think to that person, Cena going for the title against Jinder is the bigger match.
Oh, from a story perspective, 100%. So anyway, that's next week, and next week's going to be a massive edition of SmackDown, and then the next week they come to Toronto. So we'll get the fallout. We'll get Great Khali maybe the following week, and Randy. Shane's in his office, and Kevin Owens walks in and says that he knows that they don't like each other, and that Shane doesn't want him to be United States champion. Shane says, I don't like you, but I don't care who the champion is. I just want to give the fans the best matches possible, and tonight's main event's going to be amazing. Owens doesn't care about the audience, and if Shane wasn't commissioner, he wouldn't give a damn about him either. Definitely a tease of something here with these two. Could this be a SummerSlam match? Because Owens, if you go with the idea that AJ's staying champion next week, which I feel he should, I think that's way too many title switches. Yeah. Owens does not have. I thought maybe Orton could be his next program because Orton has nothing either.
Well,
but
Jericho's back, but I don't know how much they're teasing.
I didn't feel it at all with Jericho and Owens. It feels like a feud that's over. Yeah. And I just think it's a rehash. But Owens and Shane
is pretty. I don't mind that. As far as from a storyline perspective, I think it would be something that makes sense.
Yeah, it feels like Owens can lose next week, and somehow he feels once again he is screwed by. It's very reminiscent of how AJ built to the match with Shane and trying to get into the title match and was left without the title. And this could be.
I think a lot of people will groan that Shane is, going to be taking up another spot on this show.
I'm actually not.
No, I think
there's no person that has grown on me more in the last year than Shane McMahon.
He's proven to be like an actual, I want to say draw, you know, on these big shows. So.
And no mention of the helicopter at all here. Nothing. I mean, what a story. This guy, nobody could have criticized if he took the week off.
Yeah.
And he flew to Richmond this week. You know what I mean?
In a plane.
On a show where Brian was already there. He did not need to be here unless, you know, he was probably here for this backstage segment. I think the more you look at this, there was probably a necessity to have Shane on this show. And as I'm thinking of this,
maybe that's the match.
Shane and Owens or
helicopter match.
Oh, Owens could use the airplane spin.
Oh yeah, okay.
It looked like Rusev was trying to angle for that match last week.
Helicopter
with that tweet.
Yeah, it's true. No Rusev on the show either.
No Rusev on the show either. Aiden English was in the ring, sang, and then brought out Mike and Maria. And it was Aiden English and Mike Kanellis against Sami Zayn and Ty Dillinger. During the commercial break, we had the most significant part of the match where Maria distracted Zayn and English kicked him from the apron for the heels to get the heat. English got sent to the floor, which allowed Zayn to make the hot tag to Dillinger, got the 10 punches in the corner to Mike, and then he jumps to a double axe handle delivered to English. Zayn's in, hits the haluva kick, pins Mike Kanellis again.
50-50.
Dude, this was 100-0. Zayn won on Sunday.
Yeah, but he lost last week.
Right. I don't know about Mike Kanellis. He is falling fast. It just doesn't feel like a character that came in with any idea beyond a theme song.
It's a mid-card character, you know.
Well, he's been slotted as such. I watched this. I almost see, like, are they just going to pair him with English as a tag team?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, rather unfortunate because I think everybody knows the talent of both those two, Mike and Maria. I would hope that they have more in store for him than just this.
Even Maria's promos, I feel she's so constrained with this whole love gimmick. Everything's got to be connected to that you're not allowing Maria to do the promos she's very capable of and that this act sorely needs.
Yeah. I kind of like Dillinger and Zayn as a team, though.
Yeah, they were fine together. The New Day went to make their entrance, and Big E is on the PA doing the entrance, and then he's cut off mid-sentence, and then Xavier Woods and Kofi are tossed onto the stage. This was kind of a unique way to attack them.
Yeah, I liked it.
The Usos beat them down. Big E eventually comes out after being knocked out in the back. Kingston's running to the LED board. Big E returns and eats a super kick, then a double super kick, and all three members of the New Day are laid out by the Usos, and this seems to be that if this is SummerSlam, you put a stipulation somewhere in this. Maybe this ends up as a ladder match or something like that.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Or the Usos get a partner because it almost felt by this like the two took out the three of them that it feels kind of silly to go to a 2-on-2 match from this beatdown.
But why would the Usos go and get a partner?
Well,
because they're already better than.
I don't like the idea of 2-on-3 where the baby faces have the advantage, but just watching this, it feels like all three should be in whatever.
I don't know who they would get, the Usos.
There's no.
I imagine it'd just be a 2-on-2, but I love the idea of a ladder match. I think you need. I mean, this will be their third match together, so you do need a big stip, and I think something.
I think they'd have a hell of a match.
A ladder match.
I mean, they were
would be
hands down.
Oh my God, Kofi being
the match
in
of the night on Sunday.
Yeah, Kofi being in it with the Usos. I would love to see it at SummerSlam.
That spot on Sunday, where Xavier did the elbow drop off the top and got the super kick in midair, where Jimmy was out of the frame. That was the spot of the night. That was above the Punjabi fall by Samir.
Really? I thought that was pretty cool, too.
No, I'll take the super kick. That was timed amazing. Renee Young, also a free agent, I guess, her and John Cena, interviewed Shinsuke Nakamura outside the locker room, and he said, next week, John Cena, you can't see me, which means I'll see Jinder Mahal at SummerSlam.
They're keeping his words short and sweet, and I thought this week and last week have been more natural scriptings of Shinsuke Nakamura.
Main event was the triple threat with Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, and Chris Jericho for the United States title as Jericho took on his last two WrestleMania opponents. And Styles goes to the floor. Owens and Jericho start fighting. Owens stops the walls, and then Jericho goes to the floor. Owens works on the ribs of Styles. Styles rolled into the calf crusher, which was broken up by a Jericho lion salt. Owens lifted Jericho onto his shoulders, and Jericho rolled off, attempted the walls, was constantly going for it. Owens misses Jericho, flies to the floor, and then Styles hit a springboard 450 to Jericho. Owens tosses Styles to the floor. Lots of saves throughout this as well.
That springboard 450, he usually misses it. But in fact, like he was on the Edge and Christian podcast recently, and he talked about how much it hurts every time he misses it. Or in fact, Edge showed concern about how much it hurt, how much it looks like it hurts whenever AJ misses that 450. And AJ was like, maybe I should just start hitting it. And he hit it tonight.
It was like whenever RVD would hit that frog splash, and he'd sell more than the opponent. It was like, you need a better finish. Like, this is hurting. This is more effective on the aggressor than the victim.
But in this case, I think AJ was saying it legitimately hurt.
Jericho counters the Styles clash and applied the walls. Owens tries to break it. There's a slingshot sending Owens into Styles. Then Owens is finally put into the wall. Styles comes back, takes a code breaker for a near fall. Owens then grabs Jericho by the foot on a lion salt attempt from the floor. Cannonballs to both in opposite corners. And then there was a sequence of an AJ forearm to Owens, Jericho enziguri to Styles, then Owens superkicked Jericho, and Owens got hit with a Pele kick. So all three went down. Jericho took out Styles' legs on a springboard attempt, and then Owens got a super kick to Jericho and a pop-up power bomb for a great near fall spot. And it ended with Owens hitting the frog splash, but now Styles came, threw Owens to the floor, and he stole the fall, pinning Jericho. And AJ Styles wins the U.S. title in the same arena where he won the WWE title last September.
Oh, okay.
So a really strong main event, I thought. A lot of creative stuff in this three-way. And yeah, AJ wins the title back 48 hours later.
Yeah. What can you say about that? I mean, it's just some weirdness that I think someday maybe we'll get the answers to, but I don't expect finding out exactly what happened here anytime soon. Jericho, I thought it's amazing how he can just kind of come back in and out and no signs of rust at all. Like the guy just fits right in at the top, you know, with just like that. No awkwardness at all. However, he was just kind of booked here to be an afterthought. And also the amount of interaction I think he had with Owens, it was almost like they were giving away the match without actually doing that singles program. So I feel like they don't have plans to do Jericho and Owens. I certainly, like you said, didn't feel that heat, that tension coming out of this.
Yeah, I won't lie. If SummerSlam, if you're asking me, I prefer the Owens-Shane direction.
Sure.
Yeah. I think that's a match people will get into. Big brawl.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I took from this show as where things are heading. Owens threw a tantrum afterwards, was tossing chairs, cut a promo and said this is not fair. He's better than these people ever will be, and he wants his rematch next week. So we've got Shinsuke Nakamura against John Cena and AJ Styles, Kevin Owens next week. The potential to be a pretty big episode of SmackDown. And that on top of the three-way that's announced for Raw. So really big television matches next week from the company. And then the following week they're in Toronto, so we'll see what happens.
Next week certainly feels like a better pay-per-view on paper already than Battleground.
I'll say this, that if you're going to do this full-out match with Nakamura and Cena, that should have been Battleground. But that tells you the priority is television, and they'd rather promote that for television because like Cena and Rusev was not this big anticipated match. Cena Nakamura, that's the match that carries Battleground, and that would have probably saved the show. I'm thinking if they got 25 minutes in Philadelphia.
We'll see.
That's next week. We shall see what happens. And regardless, I think that whoever wins, you'll probably shoot the angle for the other as well, so that they have their direction for SummerSlam.
On to our Smacking Talk review.
Smacking Talk on Tout. Did you watch this?
I did.
This was 2.5 minutes.
I love the length. I do love the length.
It's great. They've really learned from WWE programming. This featured.
Please recap it. I know you probably weren't even playing.
I didn't even make notes. Renee Young and Daniel Bryan bringing in Chad Gable, and we had what I suggested on Monday, the child reveal. We had a DNA test result in an envelope where it stated, "You are the father," and Daniel Bryan is now the father of Chad Gable. I will
Shocking.
I will predict at most there will be one more of these smacking talks before they are told to stop.
You think they just did this on their own without any blessings from?
I'm not saying they did it without any blessings, but I am feeling that when they're just wink, wink, shooting their own angles on this show and just making fun of stuff, I do not see this lasting.
No, it wasn't an angle. They were just like making fun.
It was a spoof on an angle that. Like, the whole reason Talking Smack is not happening is because they felt it was contradicting and not assisting their own programming. So why would they want a 2-minute version of the 22-minute version on the network?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll see. I think audiences certainly love it, and I feel like there's definitely a market for this type of kind of like renegade.
Was this on their on the WWE's YouTube, or was it just?
I think it was. I think it was actually. I don't know if it was on their YouTube or not, but it was on somebody's social media. It was on Daniel Bryan's.
It was on
Twitter.
Daniel Bryan's Twitter. Let's see if they actually
probably shot on someone's cell phone.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. They very well could have done this for 1 week on.
Is this an official? It shouldn't be. It shouldn't.
Well,
be
it shouldn't be on this. Yeah, it's not on here at all.
Okay. Anyway, I think people enjoy it. I can maybe stand about 2.5 minutes of it. If it was a 20-minute thing, I don't know if the gag would be as fun. Certainly, it's not the same as Talking Smack. You know, it's not the same playground where guys actually get to cut promos and or in character, but improvised. You're getting more just kind of 2.5 minutes of. Let's make fun of like the current storylines on Raw, you know.
So we both watched 205 Live.
Yes.
I'm going to have a large question at the end of this, which is why. There was this hilarious tweet from our friends at Voices of Wrestling, who heard from someone in WWE production, told them that the joke within the production team is that the show is called 205 Leave.
205 Leave.
I mean, I feel bad for some of these guys, but I'm not going to go on my usual 205 Live broken record rant. Akira Tozawa came out in a suit, still selling his left shoulder and just high-fiving people with his right hand, and he is going to be on commentary. Davari comes out, he cuts a promo on whether Tozawa is trying to drum up sympathy or just try to get another cruiserweight title shot. And he's the only one that deserves a title shot, and he's going to dedicate his victory tonight to Abdullah Movahed, the 1968 Olympic gold medalist for Iran, who represented them in 3 different Olympic Games. And unlike others, I don't think they are scouting this guy.
I don't know.
Won gold in 68.
I doubt they're scouting any of them.
Neville and Davari was our non-title match, and Davari just continually Zabiscoed his way to the floor. He tossed Neville upside down into the barricade twice and then hit a splash off the top for a 2 count. Neville came back with a missile drop kick. Davari rolled to the floor again. Neville goes after him, and then he has a standoff with Tozawa, and Davari shoves Neville from behind into Tozawa and then wins via WCW NWO World Tour and got in, and Neville missed the count of 10, and Davari won by countout at 4:37. I'll say this, if you're going to do a finish like this, I prefer it in 4.5 minutes than after 14.
Yes. And it looks, I thought this would be a one and done, just another match for Neville, but it looks like they are somewhat building Davari. They're giving him some promo time, and they're giving him they gave him a count out win on Neville, which is, I think, more than I expected that they'd give him.
Maybe they'll do this match on Smacking Talk.
Sure, I'm sure they could fit it in 2.5 minutes. I think Davari actually, you know, he's shows some personality. I think he's pretty good. I think there's a reason why somebody like him is on TV and not a Lince Dorado or a Grand Metalik. And
who?
Exactly. And I think it's because the guy can talk at a competent level, right? But it seems like he's still playing in the background here to the main feud of Neville versus Tozawa.
The officials are holding back Tozawa as the crowd chants, "Let them fight." Brian Kendrick came out for what was one of the worst segments of 2017. He says he tried to help the people, and in response, he got attacked with snarky tweets online, which is hilarious because he just did that interview explaining that his wife handles all of his Twitter stuff. He says he is a fighter, Jack Gallagher is a clown, and we got a photo of Jack Gallagher.
Mm-hmm.
And just for you, Wai, we got the ultimate Photoshop segment. He points out how pasty white Gallagher's face is as clown makeup appears on Gallagher's photo. Then followed by clown hair. He called him a snow cone. This segment was dying a death. And it ended with a big red nose put on Gallagher's photo. Gallagher came out. He said he turned the other cheek last week, but it appears that taking the high road won't be an option. So he's going to knock his bloody head off. And Kendrick flees through the ring to the crowd as Graves says, there is no clowning around for Jack Gallagher. When we get the inevitable retrospective look at 205 Live in 5 years, it is going to be full of Brian Kendrick and Alicia Fox B-roll. And that's all I see during these segments. I nearly turned the show off during this segment. I was like, I get very little sleep now. I've got 10 million things to watch. I jinxed myself Monday. I'm behind on everything now. And I'm spending my time on this clown garbage. I hated this with more passion than usual.
This was painful. Yeah, it was. And I'm a big fan of Brian Kendrick. I think the man is really talented and very creative. But what he's shown on 205 Live so far has been very underwhelming. And this this Photoshop
these are the segments that I very much question why we're still. The only reason I'm still doing this is the amount of people that have alerted me that they only follow 205 Live through our show. I feel somewhat of a duty to watch this. But man, are they making it hard for me to justify this.
The feud is also just really slow moving. You know, it's been maybe like 3 weeks now of these two going back and forth, and we still have had nothing. You know, like no real reason why this man he's calling him a clown. That's the basis of the build, I guess, on this show. And I just overall think it's a little cold.
Dasha interviewed Rich Swann and Cedric Alexander. He asked, why did you choose Cedric? And Swann chose him as a partner because of the I Quit match, which was a very good match, by the way, as we are giving praise where it's due. Alexander said he came here for competition, not involving a deranged ex-girlfriend. TJP enters with Tony Nese and thought Swann may cancel the match after learning Nese was his partner. And Nese and Alexander went back and forth. Nese called him a participation trophy, and Alexander said, don't play dumb, TJ. We know that's Nese's job. And Cedric, and he's told to save it for the ring for their friendly competition, which was our tag match with TJP and Nese against Swann and Alexander. Swann and Alexander hit dives to the floor with Alexander executing a Tope Con Hero as Swann did this twisting splash off the turnbuckle to the floor. And TJP lands in the ropes. Alexander misses, gets dumped to the floor. Nese then distracted him, and TJP runs around the ring, dropping Alexander with a strike. TJP was in control of Alexander, leapt off the middle rope and landed a forearm. Swann then tagged in, hit his somersault leg drop to the back of the head of Nese, who then ducked a clothesline, did a kip up, but then caught with a kick. Alexander was in, spinning back elbow, standing Spanish fly. Nese made the save. Nese and Swann then go to the floor as TJP does his double chicken wing slam, but the referee says the shoulder was up and stops counting. Alexander comes back with a handspring enziguri and then goes for a springboard, but Nese trips him from behind as TJP is feigning injury to the referee, so he's distracted, and then TJP capitalizes on the fallen Alexander and pins him in 12 minutes and 20 seconds. And with 20 minutes to go in the hour, I started fast forwarding to the next segment. There was no next segment. This is how the show ended. This had to be the shortest 205 Live ever at 41 minutes. Zero complaints.
No, I don't.
What a flat show.
I don't think anybody is complaining about the content length of the show.
No, but this was such a nothing show.
Yeah, it really was. And you kind of see, like, just like last week, they kind of put the most promoted event now right at the beginning of the show, so that hopefully, I guess, most of the crowd stays to watch that at least. I thought it was a good match, a fast-moving match. Crowd actually, I felt, gave these guys a pretty good reaction. I think Nese, I also noticed, is doing a lot more talking, like ad-libbing in the ring. It was fine, but at the end of the show, you kind of feel like it's not really a show you need to watch, you know?
No, not at all. So there you have it. pretty noteworthy episode of SmackDown. I will say that.
Yeah,
and then they did 40 minutes of dark matches afterwards for the crowd.
That's really what it is, if you choose to look at it like that. I'm trying to think how they could make this a worthwhile like viewing experience for people. It's tough because the star power just isn't there, and the storylines aren't there, and the wrestling's not there. So why would anybody do it? I'll tell you who would do it is Ricochet. He tweeted about 205 Live, and he says he likes watching 205 Live because his friends are on it. So if you happen to be friends with these guys, I'm sure you'd really enjoy 205 Live.
Well, that's wonderful. If you do have friends. Unfortunately, I don't have any friends on the show, so I don't have that emotional attachment to it. I am like everybody else.
These guys work hard again. Like these guys work really hard.
Dude,
but
no one is arguing. Oh, they just have the wrong guys. Nobody says that.
Yeah.
Nobody at all. And you've seen the giant, like the majority of this same talent that was utilized in a much more serious fashion.
Yeah.
And I'm sick to death of the people that said that was catered for a different audience. It's like, what different audience? We're on the exact same platform to the exact same people. One got viewed by people and one doesn't.
Yeah. I think it was time to drastically change things for 205 Live probably months ago, but now especially you have nothing to lose. So why not change up that format?
Feedback time from the Law message board. We start off with Armbar. Charlotte is not interesting as a face. Owens' temper tantrum was something I haven't seen in a while. It makes the United States title feel important. I would love to see Nakamura fight for the title at SummerSlam, but I don't see the WWE having two foreigners fight for the title at SummerSlam. That means Cena versus Mahal. That would mean the Bella-Cena wedding is deferred to WrestleMania. I don't watch Total Divas or Total Bellas. Is the wedding planning nearly complete? Well, it's not even airing at the moment. Total Bellas comes back in September for their second season, which will be all built around the lead up to the proposal.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes.
We go to Alex from Portland who wants to know, where do you see Jinder Mahal come WrestleMania? Do you see him being pushed as heavily then as he is now? Do you think he'll have a one-on-one match? Personally, I'd love to see him lose to Jim Duggan, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's the guy that a returning Hulk Hogan confronts.
Well,
I still think it's too soon for Hogan to come back. I can't. I don't know. I don't see Hogan coming back for Mania. Although it could happen. What do I see Jinder?
Whether or not it's the plan, do you see him holding the title till WrestleMania? Like, you can't argue that this is a character that is, he shows. I think we're grading him on such a massive curve because he was at nothing before. So when he's got some presence, when he can cut a moderately acceptable promo, it's seen as so much more significant than it is. But I compare him to who I view as the top guys on SmackDown, and he's not in their league, and he's not killing them dead with this title run either.
No. But he is supposed to represent a greater potential for their business than AJ with the title, than Owens with the title. So I would say like Vince probably sees this, and he's probably actually quite happy with Jinder's performance thus far. Obviously, he's not the greatest performer, but he does a decent enough job to fulfill their needs. And so I can't see him holding the belt until Mania. I do actually kind of see him maybe flipping it back and forth maybe once or twice before then. But come Mania, I could see him with the belt. It depends, I think, how elevated he is by that point, and then obviously whether or not they give up on the experiment.
All right. Jesse from the 6 has sent us an essay here. We are not going to have time to go through all of this. All right. He says... All right. He basically is talking here about the creative team on SmackDown producing a bad show and the level of talent that was involved in the show. He says, to defend, they have 3 characters playing the same anti-American gimmick, a gimmick that is pathetic and outdated. Furthermore, nobody has explained to me how Vince intends to expand to international markets such as India while booking lazy, jingoistic, stereotype-promoting storylines in which the American hero is bound to ultimately succeed. Furthermore, the finishes they book constantly ruin matches. Owens and AJ should be a dream match, but both matches were just meh, hindered by the finish and the crowd. They've even managed to make Nakamura have crappy matches. They had no plan for Mike Bennett when they brought him in, and now we see this power of love crap. And they love to hotshot. We've seen... Okay, so we go on and on here. I mean, there's a lot of good points here that he's bringing up, but it's just we're kind of against the clock here. Listen, I'll say this. For the pay-per-view, yes. As I think we're on the same page here. I've talked about creative is not always going to benefit some of these performers. But come the pay-per-view, it's largely in the hands of the performers to go out there. Owens and AJ could have had the worst build-up. They had their 16 minutes or so. Yeah. And Nakamura and Corbin had their 12. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think it's a bit of a crutch to just blame the finish on a match being poor. It's not as though either match was lighting it up prior to that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not comfortable with just all the blame is creative's direction. They are the blame of everything. No, the performers are the performers as well. Yep. And they have to shoulder some of that too. And it was a night where it was like everything was in alignment where it was a bad show with what I think is a very deep roster of talent.
Very fair. We go to Guillaume from Quebec, who wants to know where Dolph Ziggler is, when he is set to return, and who do you think he will feud with?
I have no idea. He's been a ghost. He's been the Grand Metalik of SmackDown of late. I don't know. I don't even know if he'll be on SmackDown. Still was not part of Battleground and has had nothing of late. Michael from Orange County. Jericho's return was a nice surprise. Good to see him back. Not sure what they're doing with the United States title, but I'm glad they're putting the spotlight on it. I'm much more interested in the U.S. title than the actual WWE Championship. I'm really looking forward to Cena Nakamura, but I feel like Cena will go over, hoping they keep Nakamura strong somehow. Question, are there any details on Jericho's return, such as length of this new run? I haven't seen any promotion for upcoming live events, but I will check on that. But looking ahead, like this weekend, for instance, he is not being advertised.
All right, finally, Aditya from India, who says, I think Jericho's return was not good. He should have returned when Owens was still doing the U.S. Open Challenge. I'm done with Jinder and the India experiment. This needs to stop, and Jinder must lose now. How can WWE portray Jinder as a babyface to Indian fans where he can't win a single match on his own? I'm done with that many fans over here not even caring. Yes, Khali is popular in India, but still, we all know he is the worst wrestler in the planet. Many people also don't understand Punjabi, and they need to drop that first. And with the Jinder Mahal push still going, I know WWE is not happy because they are not getting network subscribers because half of the people don't care for streaming networks. That's why they brought Khali back, and it still doesn't work. And WWE is available for free on cable TV 12 hours later. And then even then, how can those Hindi commentators say Khali is the best and greatest superstar ever? Those two are just anchors from India who know nothing about wrestling. They work at the Sony network here where WWE has a TV deal.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the role that you're supposed to play. Okay, thank you, everyone. A lot of great feedback, and that is going to wrap things up for us. But that is not it. There is so much more coming out this week. The MMA report returns on Thursday. What's Next will be out on Thursday, and a special happy birthday today to Braden Harrington, who turns 26, if I'm not mistaken. Wow, 26. And then Friday, you and I are back, Way, and what are we chatting about?
We are chatting this week about the Kevin Owens documentary, Fight Owens Fight, which just came out recently, and you'll be having an interview with one of Kevin's close friends.
Yes, author Pat LaPrade will be back on the show. He has followed Kevin Steen's career almost right from the beginning. Owens began wrestling in 2000, and Pat LaPrade has been following his career the entire time, so I'm curious to kind of get his thoughts on the documentary, as well as someone that has been tied to Steen for all this time. And I've dug up some interviews I've conducted over the years with Kevin Steen, so we'll have some of those on the show. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I just watched it. It's an awesome disc. It's an awesome documentary.
Have you watched the extras?
No, I will. I plan to, though.
It's as good as the documentary.
Okay.
It's an hour of extras.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a 2-hour documentary. Awesome. And I would encourage everyone to watch both because it's incomplete if you don't watch both. Unbelievable stories about the names he almost was given.
Oh, great.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
Amazing stuff.
I look forward to that.
That is it for us. You can go to liveaudiowrestling.com. You can subscribe to Live Audio Wrestling on iTunes so you never miss a show, including our G1 shows, which will continue as I've quickly fallen behind, but we'll try and catch up today. And that is it. We will chat with you later on this week.